12 yards. Knocked my rabbit down.
The Arex Delta M Generation 2. There are some improvements over the original Delta, and one area where, at least in my opinion, it slipped back just a little bit, but it could just be this sample. This is often compared to the Glock. The question is it better than a Glock? Let's find out. Hey, welcome to Rider's Range. While we take a look at the Arex Delta M Gen 2. This one's on loan from my friend the firearm guy, as is the original Delta, which we'll get to in just a minute. I was kind of new to this. Actually, I'd never shot one, never even handled one until the firearm guy came up and said, hey, why don't you try this one out? So I did. The Arex Delta Gen 2 is available in an L, an M, and an X configuration. This is the M. It's the differences between them. The L and the X have a longer grip frame. The M has a shorter grip frame. The M and the X have a 4-inch barrel. The L has the longer grip frame and a 4.5-inch barrel, but the same basic design. These are also now optics ready. They come with 4 different back straps, and this one comes with a 17-round magazine, also a 15-round flush magazine. I just got the 17-round with it. And it also comes in a variety of colors. You can see the frame in this one's OD green. It comes in what's called a flat dark earth. To me, whoever came up with that name, I don't know, they've never seen dark earth before, because that tan sure is not dark earth, but neither here nor there. You can also get it with a black frame and also, I believe, a gray frame. So the M, which this one is really more like the Glock 45 or the 19X, in that it has the 4-inch barrel on top of a slightly longer frame. And for comparison's sake, here would be here's the 19, and you can see that the Arex Delta and the 19 are about the same length. Obviously, the grip is going to be longer on the Arex Delta, which is going to make it more like a Glock 17 grip. So therefore, that's really what the 45 and the 17X are, is the Glock 17 frame with the Glock 19 upper. Some differences, I mean, obviously a lot of differences between this, but when you take them apart, there's a lot of similarities between the Arex Delta and the Glock. One is the disassembly, and by the way, for the YouTube manual viewers, taking the gun apart is a necessary component for cleaning the gun. And it comes apart similar to a Glock to start with, but you don't have to run the slide all the way off. All you have to do is, because of the way the slide is notched, it's just a hair. Let's get the magazine out of it, makes it easier. Just a slight movement instead of a full movement like you would with a Glock. But when you do get it apart, the internals are initially look similar to a Glock, but there's a lot of differences. We aren't going to go over all those differences today with it. It does have fully ambidextrous controls, ambidextrous slide stop lever, ambidextrous magazine release, and well, of course, those are the only other controls other than the trigger. Of course, the trigger, of course, is ambidextrous. Gee, what a surprise. The differences between the Gen 2 and the original, by the way, it does say Gen 2 there on the front of the slide. That's how you can tell. Delta M there on the side. Texture is the big thing. The original one had just raised stippling, or not even stippling, just a raised texture, which seemed to work okay, and it was just a stippling type in the thumb area. Whereas, by the way, this is the compact version. Whereas this one has more of a sandpaper type checkering, but it's still not that aggressive. So this one's currently wearing Talon grips, which makes a huge difference in the gripability of this gun. You can see in the area down here, there's not a lot of texture. Even up here, it's just not all that grippy. So the Talon grips do make a huge difference in how to hang on to that gun. Another difference is the rail. From the original Gen 2 had just a single slot. We now have a 3-slot rail on the at least the M. Other than that, they are the same, and the full-size mag will fit in the compact model. Of course, obviously the compact's not going to fit in the full size. Other comparisons to a Glock would be the weight. And now this one, the Arex Delta Gen 2, 17 rounds for the 124 grain 9mm ammunition. So 17 rounds in the magazine. 1 round for the pipe puts it at 30.4 ounces, whereas the Glock, the best I can come up with is the Glock 19, with a Glock 17 magazine and an optic to try to get close to weight. You can see obviously this Glock's got a extended barrel on it too, which might add just a fraction to it, but that comes out to 33 ounces. So about 2.5 ounces heavier. Take away the thread barrel, add a little bit to the grip, you're still going to be a couple ounces difference between the two. One other area of similarity between the Arex Delta and the Glock is the fact, I can't show that on a Glock because you don't have a striker indicator on it, whereas you do on the Arex Delta. And you can see that the striker is pretty much flush with the back of the slide right now, but as you work the trigger, let's see if you can get a little closer and see that coming out. As you work the trigger, you can see that striker does come back. It does the same thing on a Glock, which means this is about 85%-ish cocked, and that provides a little level of safety that you don't have on some others. And particularly if you look at something like the HK VP9 Tactical, you can see there's also a striker indicator in there, but when I'm working the trigger, there is no movement to that. So this gun is 100% cocked at all times, whereas the Glock and the Arex Delta are only about 85% cocked. So it is a safety feature. And again, this does come with 4 different back straps on it. The Gen 2 comes with optics plates on it. You don't have to worry about ordering plates as you would on the HK. It's kind of like the Glock MOS system, which comes with several different optics plates. The sights on this are do not co-witness, however. In fact, even though there's a little notch on the optic, we'll talk about that in just a minute, it doesn't co-witness with the front sight. Now, you can't get taller sights for them. Both the front and the rear sights are drift adjustable. It's got front and rear cocking serrations, which are nice. A little bit of, I won't say it's a real melt, but there is a taper to the slide up here, which does make it a little easier for holstering, a little less grabby, and I do like that. As with the Glock, it does have a real high grip area on it, so you get closer to the bore axis, although that's more hype than anything else. Bore axis, within reason, doesn't make that much difference. Okay, this does have a Riton 3 Tactics MPRD2 red dot sight on it. I've got this same thing on a, the SAR 9 Mate that I'm doing some workup with, and so far on both guns it's been reliable, it's been accurate, and it's held zero. This isn't a review of the Riton optic, but I was new to it. I wanted to see how it worked. And speaking of how it works, let's take this out to the range and just see how it worked at 15 yards. Then of course we did 12 a little in the pre-roll, and we'll take it out to 25, and you know we have to take it out to 50. But I can live with it. Start with the bunny there on the left. And the plates. Delta M Gen 2 works out here at 25. Let's go for the raccoon, the white raccoon there on the right. Orange woodchuck next to him. Crow between the two silhouettes. Head flipper on the black silhouette. Can I get it back? Whoa, moved it. There we go. Let's see, this green prairie dog, barely see him there next to the silver silhouette. I got the silhouette. Let's try the prairie dog. There we go. A couple of rounds left. Let's go for the black 12-inch white center. 8-inch next to it, white with the red center. 6-inch high left. And last shot, and I missed the 6 at 25. Let's go for the silver rectangle. And the dot just completely faded out. It is, well, now it's back. The white 16-inch green center, high right. 12-inch below that, white with a red center. 10-inch, white with a black center next to the 16. 8-inch below that, white with a red center. No, didn't get the 8. Struggling with the 8 today, I think. Too much coffee. Try that 8-inch again. There we go. 6-inch to the left of that. Plain white. And there we go. All right, I still got 3 shots left. Haven't done the dark red or maroon silhouette. Let's go back to that gong there on the left. And one more time on the 6. There we go. If I do my part, gun does its part. What I didn't mention about the trigger is, now that we're empty, I shoot with a low finger position, and as I work the trigger, my finger is scraping along the bottom of the trigger guard. I don't have any problem with some guns, but others I do. Then as it resets, if you can see it there in the camera, it actually pinches my finger under the trigger. I don't like that. I didn't feel that on the Gen 1. I do feel it a little on the Gen 2. So not making me real happy with that trigger shape. If it was a little closer to the trigger guard, I probably wouldn't have that same scrape. Right, as you can see, this did work well at all the different distances. You know, for an affordable gun and for an optic that I've never heard of before, it's working really, really well, all the way out to 50 yards, even with that 6-inch plate. But I did mention the trigger. And that's my main complaint between the Gen 2 and the original one. Again, this gun is unloaded, but I shoot with a real low finger. I did show that a little bit in the range video. But as the trigger rolls forward, you can see it just barely pinching my finger on the forward stroke. Whereas, and again, this is empty. The trigger itself, well, let's show it all the way back. The trigger itself is much closer to the trigger guard. There's almost no gap on the original one, whereas on the Gen 2 there is a little gap there at the bottom, and that's where it catches my finger as the trigger resets. Trigger feels the same on both of them. It actually feels a little better than it does on a Glock. I like the feel of the trigger. Fairly short reset, very tactile. I like that. No over travel, good feeling trigger. I haven't weighed them, but it's going to feel probably in around the 4.5 to 5 pound range. I like the shape of the trigger. If I shot with a higher finger position, then I'm sure that one's going to be just fine. And that's really my only complaint about the gun, and that's just this particular one in how I shoot. So the question is it better than a Glock 19X or Glock 45? Well, again, this is all subjective. This is a sample of one for me, and it's certainly a sample of the other one, original compact. I've got several different Glock 17s and 19s, no 45X or no 45 or 19X, but they're all going to feel the same because a Glock is a Glock is a Glock for the most part. Again, I carried a Glock for 24 years. I have a certain fondness for Glocks. On the other hand, the trigger to me does feel just a little bit better than a stock out-of-the-box Glock. I like the sights that are just plain black rear and a single dot on the front. I like that better than the Glock's goalpost type sights, but then again, I've changed them on all my Glocks anyway. So that's strictly subjective. If I could just get past that trigger pinch on this particular gun, there's a lot to be said for it, and particularly when you look at the price. This Arex the Arex Delta Generation 2 is more than $200 less expensive than the Glock. That certainly does not make it cheaper, and not in any sense of the word. Given a choice between the two, especially with that $200 difference, I'm kind of liking this gun. So that's the Arex Delta Gen 2. Thanks for stopping in while we take a quick look at it.